Well, it's time to answer some of your email questions, so let's start out with Craig's. Pat, he asks, a mosque is being built in my hometown. Some people are pretty upset, but I'm not sure why. Isn't a mosque just a church for Muslims?
Well, Craig, theoretically it is, but unfortunately, in those mosques, there are people who teach all kinds of hatred against the West, against the United States, against a lot of the things we believe in. And tied into the mosque often are schools where they're indoctrinating centers. So just a mosque, I mean, hey, it's their religion. So at that point, what you say is correct.
This is from Mary, who says, I think I finally met the man I've prayed for. I love talking with him because he has such a great sense of humor. The only problem is that we can't talk about any subject without him first giving me a sermon about it. I think sermons are wonderful, but there seems to be no balance in his life. It's driving me crazy. I've tried asking him to stop, but it hasn't worked. What should I do?
Walk slowly and then quickly away to the nearest exit.
Yeah, a life of sermons. Woo!
This guy doesn't respect your intelligence. He thinks you're a dimwit, and he is thinking he's going to instruct you and teach you, and you're going to be like a little child. You don't need a relationship that way. You just don't, and he's not the man of your... If you're dreaming about that man, you better change your dreams.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
This is Kelly, who says, our teenage daughter has consistently broken curfew, refused to stop sleeping with her boyfriend, and spread lies about us all over town. After many tears, we've decided to put her out of our home. Is that wrong, or should we rather just love her through her rebellion?
Katie, there's some legal problems with what you said. You know, if you read the Old Testament, if a child was rebellious, the parents would bring the child to the high priest, and they would stone the child to death. That was the Old Testament way of dealing with it. Aren't we glad? But I really believe in a thing like this. You might want to take her to court and say, look, I want to have a judicial ruling on this. You put her out of the house depending on how old she is. Say she's 16 or 15, and you still have an obligation. I mean, you're responsible for everything she does. You've got to be very careful before you make some precipitate action. But more than that, and there's somebody who could counsel that child. I just can't understand where this rebellion comes from. What happened back in her past? Somebody needs to get with her and see if they can't counsel her. And the other thing, you might have her put in some sort of an institution where they will deal with her, because she's out of control and she's going to hurt herself if she keeps it up. So either judicial or psychological, but there needs to be some restraint. And you say, dear, we love you, but, you're going to...
And for sure to check out what the legal boundaries are for them as parents and all of that, so that they don't find themselves.
You'll be in serious trouble if she goes on a rampage, and you'll have to pay the price. All right.
Okay, this is Kimberly, who says, recently, when I was using our family computer, I stumbled across evidence that my husband had viewed pornographic sites. I was shocked, hurt, and angry. Should I confront him, or how should I handle this?
Kimberly, I would recommend you stay loose on this one, because you don't like it, but it's everywhere. Porn is almost...
So you think she shouldn't address it,
No,
though?
I didn't say that. I said stay loose and be calm. She's always shocked.
So not confront? Like
well, no, I didn't say that either. I said she's got to be calm and deal with it realistically, understanding how pervasive this stuff is, and then you talk to him. Many men are so taken. Porn is an addiction that's worse than heroin, and so he may need professional help. It may be he's just viewed a couple of sites, and so he's on. It doesn't take much to entice you. You're on the way, and all of a sudden here's a naked lady on the screen, and you say, well, hey, what's this? And then you go on to the next one, and you're not hooked on it at all. But I think you need to talk to your husband about what he's dealing with and say, look, but pornography, those who are involved in it can actually prefer pornographic activity to the sexual relations with a real woman. And that's the problem, and it's a very serious addiction.
Okay, this is Barry, who says, I saw in the paper that a new Kabbalah center is being dedicated in New York City. Is Kabbalah part of Christianity, Judaism, or something completely different?
Well, it's errant form of Hebrew Judaism. I don't think the people in the Judaism would claim it.
Kind of mystical, isn't it?
It is mystical. But, for example, in one form of Kabbalah, they have searched the Old Testament, and they'll tell you the meaning of numbers. They'll tell you what Daniel had in mind, what are the various numbers. And to talk to one of those Kabbalah scholars is a very interesting experience. But on the other hand, they have gotten into very mystical things where you wear a type of bracelet that was made in China, supposedly was going to protect you from evil. And it gets to be rather spooky. And I don't think that anybody should be involved in it, frankly. It's something that Madonna got into. I don't know how many others have gotten into it, but it's not of God. It is not Old Testament. It is not New Testament, and it isn't...
kind of New Age Old Testament.
New Age Old Testament. Thank you very much. All right.
Okay, this is Elena who says, is there more than one heaven? I heard a radio pastor mention a third heaven. Are they separate from each other, and are there different requirements for going to each one?
Well, the Apostle Paul said, I know a man in Christ who was caught up into the third heaven, and he saw things that it's not lawful to speak about. So what heavens have we got? Well, the air around the earth is one of them. There's a second one, which I think is inhabited by demonic spirits. The third, where God dwells. I don't know whether there's a fourth and fifth, but the third, that's the highest. But are there more heavens? The answer is, according to the Bible, yes. But he said, I have been caught up into the third heaven. So it's there.
Fascinating.
Fascinating. Okay.
Well, that's all the time we have for your email questions today, but we thank you for sharing them, and we welcome them at any time at cbn.com.